Next thing I'm going to show you is lighting. I'm going to show you how to light with LEDs, show you how to light with neon. I'm going to show you how to bend plexiglass, maybe bubble plexiglass, frost plexiglass. The first thing we're going to start with is edge lighting. And the materials that we're going to use are a piece of mirror, 1/8 of an inch thick. We have a 1/4 inch clear piece and a 1/4 inch black piece. We're going to put all those together, we're going to sand them, we're going to buff them, and we're going to come out with a piece that looks just like this. And from the top side, it just looks black. Now depending on the color of acrylic that we use, you'll get that particular look when you're looking from the top side, but then as soon as you rotate it down where you can see it's clear, that will light up with your neon or with your LED depending on what you're looking at. Okay, as you can see kind of right through it, but you twist it up this way and it's black and that's all polished out. So let me show you how to make one of these. The materials you're going to need, like I said, are these 3 pieces of plastic, and you can use them in any thickness you want, all depending on the job that you're working on. You're going to need glue. The Weld-On number 16, the gel, is what I'm going to recommend that you use, but for the video I'm going to do it a little bit faster, so we're not going to use this. This will take 12 hours to cure. It takes about 20 minutes to set, but I can't start sanding and do it all in 20 minutes, so that's what you should use. We're going to use our Super T and possibly some accelerator. The other thing you can also use is the Weld-On number 3 or number 4. Okay? First step, and the reason I'm using this mirror, and I hope that you can pick it up on the camera, we're going to turn the lights down and light it up, is it'll actually give you a tinge of color. And especially if you're going to use like a red neon or a blue neon, use the same color neon, the same color mirror, and it'll give you a little more color transfer with the light off or on. It'll look kind of cool. You have a really cool effect. So we're going to take this piece and we're going to glue on the clear. Will be the first piece we put on. So we're going to go mirror to clear, and I have the mirror with the color side up, and the other side is usually gray, and sometimes it can be white. So we're going to take that, and you know, I'm going to actually use the Weld-On number 3 because this dries in about 30 seconds. And I'm going to put some of that on here, and I'm going to put these two together, and I'm making sure, I'll line that up so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm making sure that I'm lining it up square. Now I cut them square, and then I'm pushing down on them real hard so that they go together completely flat. You don't want to have any air gaps on the sides. So I'm going to give that about 30 seconds. And while that's drying, I'm going to take the masking off the black. And I'm also doing this right away. You're not going to want to take the masking off and set it aside, go have lunch and come back. You're going to want to do it right away because you'll have minimal dust in between the sheets. And that's very important. Now notice I didn't prep the plastic at all. I didn't have to sand it because of the type of adhesive that we're using will etch into the plastic all on its own. So I'm taking the number 3 again. Now again, that won't give you the optimal situation. The best situation is the 16 gel, because what that will do is it'll push out all the air bubbles and give you a perfect looking piece. Our next step, we have the pieces all glued together and they've dried, okay, is to take them to the router table. Now hopefully all your edges match up pretty good, and if they don't, if one's off a little bit, you can put a flush trim router bit in here and follow your master guide, which would more than likely be your top piece, and you can just trim off that little 1/16 or 32nd of an inch, or you can try sanding it, but sometimes when you sand it, it'll get a little bit bumpy. So what I'm going to do is when I make this, I want the top to be black, so I'm going to have to turn the piece upside down, and I'm going to router a 45-degree angle off of this, and I'm going to take as much material off as I can. So we're going to do that right now. Okay, so what you see there, if I hold it like this, you can see it's just a black edge. As I turn it, you can see the clear, and then you can see the red mirror on the bottom. Now, I still haven't sanded it and haven't polished it. Now what that's going to look like when I sand it and polish it, and I've showed it to you already, this is going to look just like that. So you have your black, your clear, and your mirror underneath. Now let me light that up for you, see if you can see that. That's on the bottom piece that hasn't been polished. This is the top piece. Right away you can see the difference in brightness. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little closer and show you. So you can see the saw marks on the bottom piece, top piece. Look how much brighter it is. I'm going to show you with a red piece of neon. Now this really is depending on what you want to do. If you want it faded like this, then you just leave the front frosted and don't polish it, or polish the black piece, don't polish the clear piece. But look at the difference when you do it red. It's really bright. While we're doing this technique, I'm going to show you one that will integrate acrylic and aluminum. What we need to do this is I have a piece of aluminum. This is 1/8 of an inch by about 4 inches wide. Yep, 4 inches wide, and I got about a 6-inch piece. Okay, we sell this in a bunch of different sizes. We sell a bunch of different sheets. We have it in 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch. We have rods. We have a bunch of different stock for you in aluminum. This is very cool to work with. And I have a couple pieces of black acrylic. And we're going to do the same procedure with a couple different twists. You want to make sure that you prep the surfaces. So I'm going to take my DA sander, and I have the 60 on here. Take a quick close look at that. And you can see the difference. I made sure that it's well scuffed up. Here's the other side. Okay, you want to do that with... You want to do that for a couple of reasons. You want to make sure that there's no high spots in the aluminum. And you also, since we can't use acrylic glue to glue aluminum to plexi, we need to use the super glue or some type of urethane, something a lot stronger. So we're also going to do the same thing with the acrylic. Now I was being very careful not to round any of the edges. Aluminum is hard enough to work with without having to make it difficult. This aluminum piece is not exactly flat, it's probably a little bit oval. So I'm going to knock the dust off of it a little bit. I'm going to have a couple of pieces of wood cut to the same exact size and a couple of really strong clamps. And I'm going to take our Super T, or you can use the green one, which is an even thicker gel, it takes a little bit longer to dry, and glue these together with the same procedure we did the plexi with, but make sure you put the clamps on them. So I'm going to put our glue on here. I'm not going to use any activator because I want it to give me some time to put the clamps on. And what I'm doing is I'm lining up two edges, the front edge and the side edge, before it dries. Adding more glue to the aluminum. And again, lining up the same two edges. Because remember, at least I have two edges that are perfect, and if I want to take a flush trim router bit, I can make the other two edges perfect. Now I'm going to take my two pieces of wood. I'm going to clamp that together for a good minute. Our pieces of plexiglass, 1/4 inch plexiglass, and 1/8 inch aluminum are all glued together. I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see exactly what it looks like in the sandwich here. All right, it's nice and flush all the way against. But remember, if you have a side like this, which is not, perfect, you can just take a flush trim router bit, slow the router down a little bit, and trim that flat. The next step, I'm going to take these clamps off. Okay, and you can use this in door panels or whatever you're making. Like I said, you're going to prep this the same way, other than what you just saw me with the clamps. And when you do the plastic, you're going to want to do the clamps with the weld-on number 16, because you want to squeeze all the air bubbles out of it. Okay, so do the clamp procedure for the plexi. Okay, After that, you take it out, you do your routering, either a flush trim or your 45, your round over. You can even get into a rabbet. You want to get really crazy. You can rabbet out your top or bottom and then polish it all together. It'll look really cool. You'll have your plexiglass going right into your aluminum, and then you can insert it right into fiberglass and just have all three. It'll really get crazy. But let me zoom in on this here, because what I've done with this edge is I put a round over on it. I've sanded it with 60, I sanded it with 120, and then I sanded it with 220, and then I polished it on the buffer using the same two compounds, the medium and the light buff, and there it is. I mean, it's seamless. You can't see where the plexiglass ends and when the aluminum begins. And here's the side view of what we started with. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cover a lot more on working with aluminum and integrating plexiglass with aluminum in our router video, where I'm going to go over just about every router bit that we sell or that is made for cutting all kinds of cool shapes. So we'll cover this again on the router video, so make sure you pick up one of those. I hope to have them ready soon. I have a little sample piece here, which is just a 1/4 inch acrylic, and I've frosted one side. As you can see, on the right side it's frosted, and on the left side it's just a basic piece of acrylic. Now you can see the reflection I'm getting there of the light above us. So both sides are completely smooth. As soon as I spin it around and try to grab that same reflection, where was it? There it is. I get no reflection on this side here. And what that does with neon is it gives you a really cool glow. Everyone's talking about neon glow. Well, you can see the right side there is glowing like tremendously, where the left side isn't really doing anything. You can just see the tube right through it. And it works with multiple colors. You know, it's not color biased. The farther back you get, the bigger the glow you're going to get. The closer, the more defined glow you're going to see. But as soon as I put it on this side, you kind of see what's going on. And the same works for edge lighting. Let me show you what edge lighting does. I'm going to take this tube, and I'm going to put it down here behind my table, so it's kind of out of your view, as neon would, you know, be installed as an indirect lighter. And I'm going to set this right on top of the tube, and you can see you get kind of a glow here, but look at the glow that you get on the right hand side since it's been frosted. And if you were to touch it, it's still smooth just like the clear piece. And on the edge, you're going to get a little brighter glow without frosting, but then a dimmer glow with the frosting. And what you can do with this is you can cut out a design, put a logo, anything you want, and then even bevel cut it, and it'll look really cool. What we'll show you here is a piece that we bring to CES all the time. It's our Select Products logo, and what we've done on that is we've cut out the SP logo, we've 45-degree angled the inside, and we frosted just the back, and we've lit it from the back, so take a look at that. So as you can see, that piece was very cool. Now I'm going to show you another method of lighting plexiglass, or even lighting up what you're doing. I'm going to turn the light off, and I'm going to show you our LEDs. These are clear LEDs. You can zoom in on those. They're going to be kind of hard to see. Well, there you go, you can see them. They're water clear, so they really look like nothing until I hit the button. Okay? Now those are firing straight up. Watch when I fire them right at the camera. Okay, they're that bright. They're 5,000 lumens. And you can see the blue and the red. We have them in orange, amber, green. We have them in just about every color. And they're 2 volts, so you can plug them into the power system of the car. You can just use a little resistor. You can do anything with them. What I really like about them is they don't create any noise whatsoever in the audio system. They're virtually no voltage. It pulls like a 1/10 of a milliamp. Nothing you'll even recognize, and no noise. And you can edge light very cool patterns. Now I have a bunch of different colors here, but if I were to use all the same colors and do a couple of them in a row here, we would have the same type of glow, sometimes even more intense than a neon glow. Okay? And we can backlight it. Look how crazy that light is here. Okay? You can do edge lighting, all kinds of things with the LEDs. The other thing I'm going to show you is something that we actually, I would say that we invented by accident, kind of like Toll House cookies. This is a very cool effect, and I hope to see some of it in some of the competitions. I would like to think that you guys are the first to see it. And really, it was a mistake. And look at this plexiglass. It looks kind of freaky, doesn't it? It's It's all messed up. But when you put lighting on it, it looks really cool. Okay? And it's smooth on one side. If I'm rubbing it like this, okay, this is totally smooth, and I'll grab a reflection so you can see it's totally smooth on this side. If I flip it over, okay, I won't be able to grab a reflection because it's really distorted on one side. I'm going to show you how to do that. It's really easy, and you can make a big flat sheet that will cover your amp rack, or maybe go behind a set of woofers and light it up, and people will be like, wow, where'd you buy that piece of plexiglass? And you'll be like, well, I made it. So this is how you do it. You ready? I'm going to do it with 1/4 inch, and you can do it with any thickness. Like I said, if you're going to do a woofer box, you can do it with 3/4 inch. It'll just take some time and some patience. I put a piece of black plastic down just so you can see what it looks like a little better. And all I'm doing is I'm going to start heating a little section. And I'm going to let it get warm, and then I'm going to concentrate the heat gun in one particular area and keep my eyes open for bubbles. Now you can see it's starting to bubble. Now, depending on how big a bubble you want in it, you hang out in that particular area. So as you can see here, we got a really cool pattern that you can light up, and maybe something you can use. The next cool thing I'm going to show you is working with a plexi tube and lighting, and I'm even going to show you how to crack the inside of it with keeping the outside nice and smooth. It'll give you a really cool effect. So first things first, we got our acrylic tube. This is the 3/8. We also have them in 1/2 inch. And the first thing I'm going to do with it is I'm going to take some of this neon wire and thread it all the way in. The neon wire, we got blue neon wire through our acrylic tube. I'm going to power it up real quick, show you what it looks like. This is cool stuff. I wasn't really crazy about it until I started working with it and mixing it with plexiglass. Now there's a couple things we can do to this plexiglass. We can frost it and give it more of a glowy haze look. We can crack the inside of it like I'm going to show you. But what I think is the coolest is you can actually make your own logos or your own designs depending on what you're working on, maybe even a grill. So let me show you what this looks like. And if you were going to, say you're going to make a logo or make a design, what you want to do first is have it mapped out on a piece of paper. I'm going to turn this down to 700. Have it mapped out on a piece of paper so when you bend it, you could set it down on the table and bend it to that radius or bend it to that turn. This is exactly how they make real glass neon. So let's start over here on the end. And I'm just going to roll the tubing, and this takes a little bit of practice. It'll probably take you 5 or 6 times before you make it perfect. Now look at this. Okay, take it off the heat. And like I said, if I had a pattern on the ground, a pattern on my table, I would take it and lay it down and line it right up with this pattern here. Say if my router table was a pattern, I can follow it, hold it there. I could take a little cold rag and just touch it on there. Now you don't want to douse it with ice cold water because you may crack the plexiglass. So I could just hold it here until it cools off, which only takes a minute or two. And then I could go on with the rest of my pattern. And this is really cool if you wanted to make an antenna for a car, a neon wire. You could do anything. Like I said, grills. Okay, this is coming out perfect. No bubbles at all. Okay. So I wanted to do a little design kind of like that. I'm going to lay it flat on the table. I'm laying it flat on the table to make sure that it's straight, because holding it freehand, you're not going to get everything all lined up real nice. Now I'm going to show you is how to crack the inside of it. And this also takes a little bit of practice, but it's also a very cool procedure. I have another piece of tubing, 3/8 of an inch thick. And our favorite, acetone. Okay, I've taken some acetone and I've put it in a little catalyst bottle that we use for MBKP. And I'm going to grab my garbage can over here. And all I'm going to do is put my finger over the bottom. And I'm going to pour the acetone inside the tube. I'm going to basically fill it. Now, not to worry about getting acetone on the outside because, you know, acetone will stain acrylic. We all know that. And you can see it's starting to crack already. Okay. The acetone will stain the acrylic. However, we have a buffer, right? So the buffer will take care of those problems. If you can focus in right on that, you can see it starting to crack by my right hand here. You can see the cracks already happening. Now we could stop right now and we could just have just a few cracks in it. Or we can let it go for a little while. Look at all these cracks. Okay, we're just about ready. This is looking really cool. You can see the hazing on the outside. That's because I got a little acetone on the outside of it, but we're just going to hit that on the buffer and take that off. There you have it. I buffed it up, we cracked it, and now we can light it up with neon. It'll look really cool. And you can see kind of like the little flakes and crystals all around it. It looks very, very cool. Okay, now there's another way you can light this as opposed to using neon wire. And not to knock neon at all because neon is very cool, but you can use one of our LEDs. Here's one of our blue LEDs, spotlight. Select Products presents lighting acrylic tubing. Look how cool that is. Just from the end. And you can use two ends if you wanted to get it even brighter. And it'll take any color. Let me grab another color. Of course, I don't know what color I grabbed. Here is yellow. How cool that is. This is a demonstration of our two-way mirror. Okay, I built what's basically a replica of a trunk. And you can use this in any application, whether it be behind a seed in like a trunk well or just about anywhere. But I wanted to show you what this two-way mirror really can do. And so I built this piece. And we'll bring it to CES with us and we'll carry it around so you can see what it can do. But me being the person looking at the vehicle, I'm looking down the back here just like it's a trunk. And I have this piece of two-way mirror. Okay, as you can see it's kind of see-through, but yet it's not. I have this piece of two-way mirror slid in here on a 45-degree angle. All right, and if I show it to you, I'm going to turn the lights down a little bit. If I show it to you, what you see is a piece of aluminum. And the piece of aluminum represents a crossover or an equalizer or just about anything. Okay? But I can't touch the piece of aluminum. The aluminum is actually way over here. But you see it because it's reflecting off this mirror. Okay, now below this piece of plexi is a crossover that you can just barely see. It's a passive crossover, and what I've done is I've put a little indirect lighting with a white piece of neon. So the effect that you get, and let me set this up here so you can see, the effect that you'll get is you want to have a switch that turns that light on. And when you turn the light on, you'll be able to see what's underneath the two-way mirror. Turn it off, you see the crossover. You turn it on, you see maybe a different crossover. Or you have an equalizer here, crossover there. Or amplifier here, there. You can do this. It's very, very cool, and it'll play tricks on people, and it's a very cost-effective way to do that. So let me show you again how I made that. We've got the two back pieces. We have our piece of mirror on a 45-degree angle. It's two-way mirror. We have our so-called amplifier mounted right here. Okay, underneath there's a crossover. And you can't see the crossover. You can kind of see the silhouette of the crossover. So people are like, even that kind of looks a little misty, looks a little kind of mystical maybe. It'll look really cool. And then once you turn the light on, okay, you have this piece right here, and underneath it is a piece of neon. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show it to you, but it looks just like this piece of neon right here. And it's underneath the hinge, so you can't see the neon, it just lights up the crossover. The last thing I'm going to show you is how to get scratches out of plexiglass. Now let's say that you have a bunch of plexiglass in your car, maybe you have windows covering your woofers, or you have plexiglass covering your amplifiers, and you get a scratch on one of them, you don't want to remake the whole thing. How you're going to do it is, let's say I'm going to scratch this piece of plexiglass pretty good with this router bit. And I'm sure you can hear that over the microphone. But I got a big scratch in it. It's really big and it's white. The only way I can get that out is to take my DA sander, and you can try with about 220, maybe even 400, and try and work that out so where you can bring the rest of the plexiglass down a little bit, then take it onto the buffer and buff it out with the medium and then with the fine, and that should come out. Now if it's in the car and you can't get it out of the car, use the die grinder with like a 6-inch or a 4-inch wheel, depending, use the biggest wheel you can get in there, and you'll get that out without a problem. Now there's some other treatments that you can use. This is Novus, and this is for fine scratches. And so if you just had fine scratches from using the wrong kind of towel on the plexiglass, take a little bit of Novus. First, it's a good idea to shake it up real well. Take a little bit of Novus. Get some non-scratch towels, and we have them, so if you don't have them, get some just for cleaning your plexiglass. And it's just like a wax or a compound, where you're going to spread it around just like this. And by making the circular motion, you're actually cutting down a little bit of the plexiglass. You're taking out the fine scratches. And you want to do that right up until it's about to dry. Okay? And you'll feel it as you're doing it. And it's drying right about now. Now I'm going to turn my cloth, or my non-scratch towel, to a dry side. And then I'm going to buff it off, because it buffs off and it gives you a real nice wax film, so it'll keep everything off. Now for everyday cleaning, we have a couple different products. We have the Brilliant Eyes, and we also have the Plexus. And they work very similar, where you kind of spray them on and just wipe them down. It gets your fingerprints off, it gets all the dust off, and it works really well. And it's been our experience that the Plexus product gives us a longer lasting wax buildup. If any of you remember the waxes from the old days when they were really thick Carnauba waxes and the water beat it on your car forever, that's kind of what this stuff is like. It won't hold on to fingerprints and it won't hold on to dust. And we use it at our CES display. We also use it on our demo cars. It takes a little bit more time to apply it and take it off, but it's worth the time. As you can see, what I was doing is I was buffing it, letting it dry a little bit, buffing it some more, letting it dry a little bit, until I get my perfect shine. And I'll see if I can shine it for you. There you go. You can see the shine there. That's perfect. So that's it. That's the art of plexiglass. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope I gave you a lot of information on how to cut plexiglass, sand plexiglass, polish it, bend it, do all kinds of crazy things. We're going to be working on some more videos. As soon as we're done with this one, we're going to start our router table video, where we're going to cover just about every kind of router. We're going to be cutting wood, we're going to be cutting aluminum, plexiglass, doing all kinds of crazy jigs, so make sure you get a copy of that. All the products, of course, that I used, you can get at Select Products, so give us a call. We're also going to be working on a damping video, where we're going to take a brand new car and take it all apart and use the spray damping. We're going to use the sheet damping. We're going to do the whole car, and we're going to try to get that video to you very inexpensively. I want to thank you for your time, and stay tuned to Select Products.